Happy Mother's Day. Well, that was not convincing. Happy Mother's Day. Let me encourage you to take the insert of the bulletin and read and reread the prayer, the Mother's Day prayer in the insert. If you haven't noticed it already, please take the insert. Because on this day that we set apart to celebrate mothers, that prayer, as I read and reread it, reminded me of the struggle of what it is to be the parent, not necessarily biologically, and what this day will engender for some people. Not all have had wonderful experiences with mothers, and all of those emotions that are brought to bear as this day is celebrated. I encourage you to pray that prayer and reflect on it. Now, a few years ago, I was a part of the generation that still had the mothers alive. I'm a part of the generation now that she's been called from labor to rest. So as I rose this morning and began to prepare myself, I looked at her picture on my mirror and said, there she is again. She continues to be alive in me. So my happy Mother's Day to her. This time, for the first time, I didn't pick up the phone to call West Africa and realize, oh, she's not there again. So happy Mother's Day to all of you mothers, but all of us who have mothered children. Again, I'm saying not just biological, because there are men who have cared for children in ways that can be mothering, and there are women who did not produce biologically but have done a wonderful job as mothers. And then on this day, as I've said on many occasions, I find it difficult to say Happy Mother's Day to that teenager who have no clue of what it is to bring forth biologically and care for that little one. But Happy Mother's Day. Now, that has nothing to do with the sermon this morning, but I have to begin that bit. This morning, I want to give a testimony. Now, I know I'm talking to Episcopalians. When you hear testimony, oh my God, where he's going again this morning. I want to give a witness, if you will. For us Episcopalians, when we hear testimony, we say, no, change the word. Give a reflection, give a commentary. We can use any other word, but don't say testimony, because we leave that to the Baptists and the Pentecostals. But I want to give a witness, if you will. And the witness is more than 2,000 years old, but it's a testimony. It's the testimony of a man who was about to take his life because he thought he had failed. It's the testimony of a man who came to know Jesus, and he and his household were baptized. The story is from the Acts of the Apostles. Paul and Silas have come to Macedonia, and they have spent some time there, and they're going about, and there is a young girl following them who is telling fortune. She should be around today, because I need to talk to her what number I need to play to get the lottery. But never mind. But she's following them and telling fortunes and making a lot of money for those who own her. But when she sees Paul and Silas, she begins to speak of them as slaves of the Most High God. And Paul and Silas apparently pay her no attention. They keep going about, but she keeps following them. And it gets to Paul's nerve, and he turns around and he commands the spirit to get out of her. Well, that's not good for her masters, because no more money again. This is an aside, but a few years ago, you know the psychic network thing? I mean, I'm sure you all remember that. They knew everyone's fortune and future except their own. You don't hear much about them these days, right? Because they've crashed. That's what happens when you tell the future. The future can catch up with you without you knowing that your own future was something else. They will tell them, if God wanted us to know the future, I will submit to you, he would have revealed it to us. He wants us to wait until tomorrow becomes today. And then we can live in today fully. There are those of us who want so much to get to tomorrow, we miss living fully in this day, which is the present. Next week will come. But this week has yet to fully be revealed. As you heard my prayer at the beginning of worship, Lord, a new week has begun and we do not know what it has in store. But make us ready for what that might be. The young woman was telling people fortune, their future. And Paul silenced her. And they annoyed her owners. So they got Paul and Silas, had them beaten and thrown into prison. I told you I was going to give you a testimony, right? Here comes the testimony. So they were thrown into prison, and the jailer was told to make sure they were secured. And because he wanted to make sure that all was well, he put them in an innermost prison and even bolted their chains. All was well, securely locked up. And at night, Paul and Silas were having prayer meeting. Again, this is not something you talk about in the Episcopal Church. But they were having prayer meeting. That one where you sing song and you pray all night. And then something happened while they were singing and praying. There was an earthquake. And the doors were open. The chains fell off. And you would think that all the prisoners would say, yippee, out the door. Nobody went anywhere. They were still in there. Apparently, the jailer has slept through the earthquake. I don't know how this will happen, but never mind. When he finally gets up and sees the doors open, he's like, oh my God. The best thing to do right now is to take my life so that I don't have to answer to the authorities. He drew his sword. And Paul said, no, we are all still in here. What? The doors are open and you didn't go out? No, we are still here. He gets the light, he goes in, and all the prisoners are there. He brings Paul and Silas out and he said, sirs, what must I do to be saved? You had the opportunity to go, but you stayed. I don't know why you did that, but what must I do to be saved? You and your household. Believe in the one who came and gave his life for the world, and you will be saved. The jailer takes them to his home, cleans the wounds. He and his household are baptized. Food is set before Paul and Silas, and they have a meal. This is his testimony, telling you and me what can happen when God is involved. The one who had secured them because it was his instruction is the one who leads them out to his home to welcome them as his brothers in Christ. That's his testimony to you and me this morning. That before this night, I did not know the one who came and died and gave his life so that I may be saved. And after this night, I will never ever again be the same. Me and my household. That's his testimony. That God redeemed he and his household. Now, what is my testimony? My testimony is about last week. A busy week for us here at St. Stephen's. It was the rummage sale, what can I say? And a lot was going on, and I was just a part of it. I had gone to clergy conference, as you all remember. Last Sunday afternoon I left, and went to clergy conference, and I was with the clergy of the Episcopal Church in South Carolina as we spent time with Bishop Van Rosenberg, as that was his last clergy conference with us, because July 1 he goes back into retirement. And what a wonderful clergy conference it was. I believe this was one of the best clergy conference we've had in the Episcopal Church since I've been in this diocese for more than 17 years. We spent time together, being with one another, not fighting one another, not complaining about how messed up the world is. We just spent time enjoying one another's presence and listening to the bishop and others who came and made presentations to us. I returned and jumped right in with the things happening here. And rummage sale, as you know, took place Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. So Thursday and Friday, I was a part of the rummage sale. And on Saturday, I had to take leave of the rummage sale because I had obligation as dad. So I was one of the many parents gathered at Coastal Carolina University to sit and celebrate my son getting his second undergraduate degree. I don't know why second undergraduate, but never mind that. His second undergraduate degree in computer science and applied math. That was 8:30 yesterday morning. At 10 o'clock, we left the commencement. We loaded up the truck and headed to Charleston, South Carolina, where my nephew received his degree in African American Studies. Boy, yesterday was my day. What can I say? That's my testimony. From one graduation to another, and these are two men who were little boys in this congregation. Some of you remember them. They were among the group that used to leave church early and go and start the coffee hour ahead of us. Those of you that are new to it, you may not know that. But that's why that sign is on the door, do not go through this. Because they used to sit on these two pews from the Sunday school. And then one would go out and the next would follow, and you'll see a whole line of kids and they'll go out. And before we march out, they were already in the parish halls starting the coffee hour waiting for us. All the goodies were gone when we got there. And yesterday I was looking at two young men receiving degrees, and I'm like, where has the time gone? My testimony is that God has a sense of humor, and God journeyed with us through the ups and downs and twists and turns of life. They have become young men. And within a few months, my two sons will be leaving the United States to go overseas for a year as missionaries of the Episcopal Church. Wow. They will be serving somewhere. Thank you. They will be serving somewhere in Africa, as we're told right now. We don't know where. But as I conclude this morning by way of this testimony, what I'm saying to you, just like the jailer who thought he had everything secured until the earthquake, and then he realized there was more to life than trying to secure these people who had done nothing wrong. My testimony is that every time I try to get things nicely arranged, God upsets the apple cart, because God has our plans. A few years ago, I would have had no idea that my two sons would choose to be missionaries in the Episcopal Church. But joy to the world, this dad is going to have two missionaries. I don't know what they're going to be like when they come back, but never mind. Going to be two missionaries. I invite your prayers. I invite your support as they continue to find themselves in life. My testimony is that God has just been good to these priests. God has brought this priest a mighty long way, and God is not done with me yet. And to God be the glory for all that he has done and will continue to do. Amen.